Greetings and salutations. It is I, Professor Macabro, here again to regale you with another movie review. Yes, indeed. Much like with the previous movie, Pumpkinhead, I recently finally found a movie that I've been hunting down for many a while and have never been able to acquire and talk about until now. Yes, indeed. Recently got this at a flea market, and it's a movie that I've been wanting to rewatch and enjoy, and I wanted to talk about it. Mind you, there are people out there in the great horror community that have already talked about and reviewed this movie, doing a much better job than I could possibly ever hope to achieve. Some of them have even done very detailed and informative deep dives that, again, will make my video look like shit. So watch their review and get very informative content on reviewing this movie that I will talk about. Dead Alive, aka Brain Dead, yes indeed, made by Peter Jackson before he was making giant monkeys fight dinosaurs and making you wait 2 hours for them to get to the goddamn island and actually get to the action. And before he was making 4-hour epics about a couple of little people trying to deliver a piece of jewelry to a goddamn mountain, he was making amazing horror movies, yes indeed. You might have seen The Frighteners, which had Michael J. Fox, and that's a really good movie. I really like that one. And before that, he made what is billed as the goriest movie of all time. And we have had some really good movies that have given this a run for its money. The recent Terrifier series is pretty gory. Then Japan has also released a whole bunch of gore fest, like Ricky-O, The Story of Ricky. Or, what's the name of that movie that Echo's always mentioning? The one that has the machine gun up her butt, but there's Tokyo Gore Police. That's another one that comes to mind. But this one has held the title and is still revered as the goriest movie of all time. And after finally being able to rewatch this, yes it is, it's still pretty gory and pretty amazing. Yes indeed. What is this movie about? Well, let me tell you. Before he actually got a chance to do his giant monkey movie, he wanted to do something based on King Kong. And this movie begins with a couple of researchers going to Skull Island to retrieve a Sumatran rat monkey, out of which we, here in Professor Macabro's movie room, have the skeletal remains of the Sumatran rat monkey. Yes, indeed. You can see the long, elongated face, the claws, the long tail, and the positioning much like a monkey. Yes, indeed. A very disgusting creature. Very unnatural animation, so you best be careful with the Sumatran rat monkey because its scratch and bite has the plague apocalypse. Yes, indeed. How did Skull Island not have zombies? Well, I don't know. Or how did something like this survive in something like Skull Island with giant creatures and stuff like that? Don't question it. But this thing is bad news. If you see a Sumatran rat monkey, kill it. Kill it until it's dead. And display its bones on your collection. Yes, indeed. Very rare to find a Sumatran rat monkey fossil, but skeletal remains, but I have it. Yes, indeed. So, these dumbass people, like they do, take the specimen to a museum, and you have the story about this guy that has, unfortunately, an overbearing mother that just smothers him like, what would be a good comparison? Like Seymour Skinner from The Simpsons, yes indeed, or Norman Bates from Psycho. Just a mom that just crushes the soul and spirit of this poor bastard. And he meets Paquita, yes indeed, a hot Latin mama that handles the convenience store, and they instantly fall in love, and it's foretold that they would fall in love, because Paquita's, grandmother? I don't know, reads the tarot cards and she foretells her future, and they do hit it off. But, I forget the main character's name, but his mother goes to visit the museum and gets scratched by the Sumatran rat monkey. Again, this motherfucker right here. And she starts turning into a zombie, which leads to Professor Macabro can see Art the Clown dismember people willy-nilly and then pour bleach and salt on them, or hack people with an axe, or he sees people being disemboweled in a horror movie, and I'm there like, pass the nachos with carne asada, yum yum yum. But this movie is infamous for being the one that grosses me out the most, because there is a scene where the mother, who's now turning into a zombie, has this really nasty boil where he got scratched by the Sumatran rat monkey, and she squishes it, and this pus-filled goop falls into a bowl of pudding. Just talking about it makes me want to hurl chunks, much like it did when I did that DVD haul. That scene always gets to me. It is thoroughly disgusting, and it is one of the few instances in a horror movie where where I'm close to blowing chunks just even thinking about it. I saw this movie one time long ago, and that scene left an impact on me, and it still does. It's been a long while since I've seen the live, because again, I haven't been able to find it on VHS or DVD until now. So rewatching it, that motherfucking scene still gets me every time. That goddamn pudding scene. But then it turns into this whole chaos thing as the zombies start to pile up. And there's this also memorable scene, which I try to quote or reference any chance I get, because there's this padre that is in the cemetery, and these zombies start popping up, and then he starts releasing kung fu moves on these motherfucking zombies. And he does the ever-epic quote, "I kick ass for the Lord!" And he starts kicking everyone's ass, and I love that scene. Unfortunately, poor Padre gets turned into a zombie, and this poor schlub is holding the zombies down in his little cellar, tranquilizing them. But I don't know what kind of magical voodoo hoodoo this thing had, because not only is it creating zombies, but it's creating bioweapons. Does the Sumatran rat monkey, the T-virus thing from Resident Evil, are you responsible for the T-virus, you motherfucking thing? Because the zombies start mutating, and the mother turns into this really freaky-deaky thing. And there's also the padre that gets it on with a nurse, and they give birth to this little baby motherfucker thing. Really, really over-the-top crazy shit. And it all ends in a crescendo of blood and guts and gore, where Paquita is in grave danger, and the celeb whose name I forget gets a lawnmower and starts running roughshod on all the zombies, and just going like, and just gallons and gallons of goop and blood are sprayed all over the place, and it is glorious. Glorious, glorious. I had a lot of fun revisiting this, except for that goddamn pudding scene. Ugh, terrible stuff. But the practical effects in full display, forced perspective, all the tricks that unfortunately Peter Jackson then threw down the drain with all its CGI. The Hobbits used forced perspective, so he brought that on from this. So yes, a great movie. Can't say how amazing this rewatch was. Yes, indeed. And again, if you want to see more detailed, more in-depth walkthroughs and deep dives, please check out the other videos from the movie. I know JT Horror's discussion, the deep dive on this, and I suggest you watch that one, because it's really good. But yes, if you haven't seen Dead Alive, give it a shot. A fair warning, again, if you're a little bit squeamish and you don't much care for the goopy, gory stuff, you might not want to watch this one. And if you really get sickened by the pudding scene, you might be a little bit grossed out by what comes afterward, because shit gets crazy at the end, and if you're not into that kind of shit, well, you're not gonna have a good time. Think of something like Trauma, like Poultrygeist. If you could stomach Poultrygeist, you can stomach Dead Alive, but yes, indeed. Thankfully, Professor Macabro has been properly desensitized enough to not get grossed out by a movie. My brain can disconnect the gory, goopy stuff. Real life shit, nah, I can't do real life shit like that poor lady that got headbutt in the Tyson versus Paul Logan fight and had this really bad gash. Oh, that made my skin crawl. Or that pudding scene. Again, that goddamn pudding scene. Makes me want to hurl every time I think about it. But again, I recommend it. I give this a 10 out of 10. Plus on your puddings. See if you can handle it. Yes, indeed. I don't know if this thing is streaming anywhere. I've never been able to find this thing streaming, but much like Pumpkinhead, I live in the grand old country of Mexico, and our streaming menu is a little different than what you might have in the Americas or in other countries. So, viewer beware. But again, try to find it in physical media. This, unfortunately, doesn't have any cool special features. My face is falling off. Oh, goodness. This, unfortunately, doesn't have any special features except the trailer, which is something that I've mentioned. If you're going to release your movie, at least release the goddamn trailer, and this has that. But it doesn't even have an animated menu like that Bigfoot movie that we saw. Or it doesn't have the cool special features that Pumpkinhead, but I'm pretty sure. Well, last I heard, the Blu-ray was out of print and command a lot of money. But I don't know if one of your boutique companies released a better version with special features. But if you can find that on the cheap, get it. This is definitely a movie that has to be in everyone's collection. And something that you can showcase people in your Thanksgiving dinner. Like, get everyone together at Thanksgiving, pop in there live, and have yourself a good time when everyone's eating your cranberries and they get to the pudding scene. Yes, indeed. So I highly recommend Dead or Alive. Have you seen it? Did you enjoy it? Was it too gross and goopy for you? Let us know in the comments down below. But until we see you all again next time, this has been Professor Macabro, that is Zombie Huesitos, and the Spooky Crew, and we wish you all, like always, a good evening.